Good evening.
Only going into the evening.
Welcome to Wednesday, the 25th of September, our Finance and Governance Committee meeting, live from the new town hall. Hello to everyone observing online. Steve. That does end of item one. Item two is apologies for absence and substitutions. I understand that Councillor Nicholson sends her apologies and Councillor Dixon is here in her stead. Dickens, sorry, I do apologize. That's all right. That's not on. It's confusing. Are there any other further apologies or substitutions? No, in that case, I would propose that we approve the apologies. You like to second that? Thank you, David. All those for? All those against? Abstentions? Good pick one. Excellent. Carrie, thank you very much. It's a relatively short agenda this evening, but does anyone have a declaration of interest that they'd like to make at the start of the meeting? Councillor Weller.
I am making a declaration against, in reference to the grant application. I'm president of MD Freedom, and whilst they aren't in competition or anything else, I would not want to be thought to be prejudiced.
Noted. Understood. Thank you very much.
Just to declare that I was the wrong one in the future PP coming through.
Yes. I think that's what we're looking into. Excellent. Any more? Thank you all. If you do think of anything as we go through the meeting, if you feel you need to raise it, then please do.
I'm married to perform on the lollipop.
We will have our cross the bear. Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of the last minutes, which hopefully will be as being a true and accurate record of our last meeting held on the 24th of July this year. Would you like to propose them? Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor O'Leary. All those votes for. Thank you very much. Join those now. Not item 5, councillor questions. I'm not aware of any councillor questions having been notified beforehand. Does anyone have any question they'd like to raise now? No, thank you very much. Similarly with public questions, nothing pre-notified. No members of the public. So I think we move on from that one fairly rapidly, which takes us on to item 7, which is the grant application from Wet Wheels Hamble CIC, which the Deputy Town Clerk will be introducing. Please.
Thank you, Chair. So this is just the one application for this meeting, which has been through the grant working group, which had a majority in agreement to bring it forward to this full meeting. There is not a member of this group in attendance, but the recommendation, Chair, is the application amount of £2,000.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Would not appear so, in which case.
Can I propose that we accept it?
Absolutely.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. All those votes in favour? 9. Those against? And those abstaining? Okay, item 8 is the grant policy and matrix review working group, which again, Deputy Town Clerk is going to introduce for us,
So we
please.
introduced Chair and then members of the working group have some comment as well. And hopefully this one will go slightly easier than the one we were discussing it at the previous meeting. So the grant working group which were appointed at the last F&G have met over the summer holiday. And I thank them all for their attendance, and I thought it was actually a really well done meeting, very constructive, and I think the outcomes will be a lot more workable and a lot more easier for the applicants as well to be able to get grant funding. So the two forms and policies have been updated, and that is a result of discussions through the working group, and members will have copies of those new policies and application forms as part of their agendas. But what also came out of the working group were additional two recommendations, and one was to ask the budget working group to have a look at the budget for the grants to see if there was any scope for increasing that so we can support our communities. And also to ask the budget working group to look at having a separate budget for certain of the agreements so it doesn't diminish that pot for those grants and the applications which come forwards. Also, there's another recommendation just to make the process slightly easier, and that was to ask that the grant be considered over 3 tranches throughout the year where there's defined deadlines, and those timings of those meetings will be agreed at the beginning of the year by the chair and myself. And the reason for that is just in case that we may just have to change one of the ones at the end of the year so that it doesn't go into pre-election periods, but we won't need to consider that for a few years yet. And then I think you'll see within the policies and members of the working group may just expand on this. I think it was the applications would go to members of this committee, and they would come forward almost like the planning process and ask if there was any questions for particular applicants, and we would invite them along, and if not, we wouldn't make it into. So I think that's in a nutshell, Chair. I think the members of the work group may have like to add anything to that.
Yeah, Councillor Furman, you did an awful lot of preparatory work for this. Would you like to?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, first of all, just thanks to those members of the group that came together and we sort of dissected this document policy and then put it together, and Franklin signed it, and we just took, but we took the best bits, we worked out what didn't work, and we adapted, which is exactly, you know, worked up then in terms of efficiency. I was really pleased that we were able to make our communities the focus of this document, not the borders of Weymouth, and get too bogged down in the Weymouthness of it rather than the communities that were within it. That was a really nice takeaway from it. You'll see that we took out the matrix, which for my money was not useful or informative in any way, and certainly didn't come into dialogue when we were advancing last time. And you know, overwhelmingly, the sense of that group, and I think we have done it right, and I'm going to share some information with you in a minute, was about the ease in which we can support our community groups. I think it says a lot that when a town, when a community like ours has a good, strong base of community organisations, it shows that we're probably heading in the right direction. And being able to support them is then just a wonderful part of our work. Upon Ian giving me the documents finished as we agreed them and those ideas fed in, I sent those out to various groups that had applied previously, and just to see what their feedback was. And if it's all right, Jeff, I'd just like to read out. So
just for clarity, we did agree that as the working group that had to do that, we didn't just start sending out draft documents.
Yeah, so we got the draft PDF. I sent them out to 4 different groups, and this is what we put. But I won't say who said what, but I'll just give you the general feedback. So looks awesome, much clearer, more straightforward without being watered down. Just some council others here, some of them swear. So just some chopped out. If I'll fill one once if they we only need to fill one once if they've been it, rather than going over it again and again. But I think looks awesome. The first phrase there is where we're at. This form is much easier to fill in and understand what is required The old form was long, lots of questions that seem to repeat themselves. This new one is shorter, to the point. This is my opinion. Thanks so much for sending it over. This form is easier to complete, apart from question 11. And by the way, members, please do take this as, you know, we can still change it if we need to, but I'll just do this. Apart from question 11, it looks back over funding bids for the last 3 years. We would be very time consuming and possibly not relevant to the project being applied for. We would be able to look it all up as we don't have it all to hand and keep track of all our spending through 3 years. But I think some of the small independent charities like ourselves that don't have professional bid writing is often the case. Having a very short time span in the day to do applications, but having said this, this form is a whole lot easier than I remember the previous one being, and would take me approximately half an hour rather than an hour and a half to complete, which is about the average of what we applied for. And then the last point came back, you've streamlined it nicely. So yeah, that really great feedback. Again, thank you so much. And there is just that question 11, which is 3 years, and we were doing a gift to shorten it to 2 if we wanted to, but I don't want to get into too much if people feel it doesn't want to be. But it is important that we recognise what funding those organisations had previously, so we can have a better contextual understanding of where funding basis coming from. Yeah, and please, if I've missed anything working group, please, yeah.
No, thank you for that. And if you haven't already, I don't think Ian necessarily debates in some. Before that, so
Yeah.
the feedback.
Oh, yes, well, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Any thoughts, comments, councillors? Councillor Bell.
On number 11, wasn't part of the working group, so please correct me if there's a reason for this. But on the bit where it's saying detail of any grants or financial support received from local including Weymouth Town Council, shouldn't we know? As opposed to ask the organisation to.
Of the Weymouth Town Council. Yes, we should know, but I would argue it would be helpful to have all the information of all grants received in one place.
I just, sorry. I wondered if there could just be a tick Weymouth Town Council, yes, we've had something new, and we should know that. And then completely, if they've received stuff from Portland or Chippewa or wherever, then there's still space for that. I wonder if that's the way to see it up. Because a lot of our community groups may only get from us. I presume we have a record of all grants issued. Just a thought.
So appreciate the point. What that will do is that will create work for officers, and these grants applicants will information ready to put in. To go back and travel through. I appreciate it, but we do that for Weymouth Town Council. I think to be able to do that for. I think it should be on the owners and on the system of that organisation to be able to just declare what they see.
Yeah, I was just thinking how to speed up.
Yeah,
Completely.
But it would, okay. It would just be a case on something, Weymouth Town Council, £2.5. That's what they need to write. It's not, it's not very much.
You happy, Councillor Bell?
Yeah.
Excellent. Councillor Taylor.
Can I just ask for clarification on the second recommendation? Talking about the, I think the working group were asked to review the community grants and move the ones that we've got SLAs for into a separate budget. Does that mean that we're reducing the grants pot to actually make, for the difference so that we're actually spending the same overall? Or are we actually asking for more grants money, basically?
We are not. I'll deal with that. For this financial year, it will still be coming out of the same pot. For future financial years, that is what we cover as part of the budget setting process in November. But the intention is not to reduce it. I don't think the intention is for there to be in total a greater amount of grant funding available when all added together. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, but it's not terribly clear there. I mean, what I'm thinking is, I can't remember how much our grant spot is, but if it's say 50,000.
Yep.
And we move 10,000 of it into an SLA pot. Is the grant pot put then 40,000 or with 10,000 on the other side? Or are we intending to keep that at 50,000? An additional?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So I think the intention, as part of discussions, with the working group was the actual pot for the grants, was going to remain at 50,000.
Right.
So, and that was to fund purely the application of, community groups on a year-on-year basis. In addition to that, they were asking the budget working group to see if there could be a separate pot to that 50,000, specifically for the SLA, so it didn't eat into the grants. So there'll be two separate budget lines, one for SLA and one for the grants, which remained at 50,000.
Okay, so when we discuss the budget later on in the year, I'll see it's, there's two separate lines. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
That obviously needs to be agreed as part of the budget process, but the recommendation from the working group, that's what they would like, the budget working group to consider.
Yes, thank you. Apologies, I didn't know.
Does that need clarifying on the recommendation, or are we okay with it?
I think, if I may, Chairman, I think we may be able to just keep it as it is, because clearly the amounts are determined when we actually agree the budget.
Yes.
So this is just agreeing a process, that there will be two pots.
Yes,
So we have to
exactly.
vote that.
Councillor Webb.
I'm just going to confirm what Ian said, that was our hope, that we would discuss that when it comes to budget setting. And we're minuting this discussion anyway, so that will be clarified within that, and I don't think we need to confuse the recommendations. We'll all just end up more confused, I think, if we try to clarify it.
Wait until town council.
Well, let's break the mould.
Okay. As long as it's all limited projects.
You taking attention. Excellent. Any other comments? Or are you happy for me to,
I'm happy to propose.
Could I just ask Ian, what is the, you know, three tranches of things? What would be the best for you? At what period would you like to stop it? So that obviously you've got to work it. So would it be sort of June or to then? And
Yeah, I would suggest it would probably be somewhere around June, November and March, and March one clears up, you know, what.
Yeah.
At the end of it, so, that would be my anticipation.
so you do like grants are available 1 month of June, get your applications in.
I would,
And then 1 month of say November, grant applications are in.
if I may, I think it would be more you have 3.5 months of get your grants in. And then we have 2 weeks to review.
Yeah, I mean, that needs setting out for obviously officers' work timetables and things.
but we have got that time. Yeah, obviously, so I think as an example of it being, improve the columns of the application for onto the recommended start. And, you can put your applications in, for example, between sort of April, May, or maybe June, and then we'll have about 2 or 3 weeks for amendment consideration. Considering June, and that'll be the next order.
Yeah, because I think 8 weeks is long enough for people to get their applications in. You know, and then it gives officer time, and then if is there a working group that's going to look at them? No,
Not until the officers review.
no.
If I mention, yeah, just to give you some an example, it could be we have this finance meeting. This could be the meeting that we would do grants. We've got a grant application say today, tomorrow, that would automatically be taken in for the next meeting. It wouldn't necessarily be processed in all the documents and such, but it would then just automatically be in the run up and obviously to us before. So we, as planning budget describes, we could then call them in. If we, you know, there might be ones that we know straight away when they report on the policy. These ones come close. These ones do hit it. And we will, as a matter of information, encourage those who are even not successful in one fund to reapply. So people aren't, get 10 really good ones, review support. You don't want communities, community groups to think, oh, well, I've lost it. No, I can.
Similarly, if we haven't gone through the third at that first session, it can roll over into the
It's my role.
It's
I'm
not.
just thinking of clear rules, it helps the officers. Clear rules will definitely help them. From this date, nope, that's it, you're in the next one.
Yeah, the year will be divided into three, there will be 3 deadlines, but we will encourage applications throughout the year. As I was saying, I propose that we accept the recommendation. Councillor O'Leary kindly seconded it. All those in favour? Unanimous, Chair? Wonderful. I think you did very good. Thank you. No, thank you. Item number 9 is the asset management plan update that James Smith is going to introduce to us. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This report presents an update on the planned maintenance programme previously agreed. The appendix is a live document that is amended as new information comes to light on addition to the programme and budget updates for these schemes. Officers strive to obtain best value as demonstrated by some of the schemes coming in under budget. Whilst also using our in-house maintenance team to undertake the necessary important schemes where possible to achieve money back. Programme amounts are to keep assets at current service levels with funding subject to conversations at the budget working group. There is a link between the planned maintenance programme and other funding schemes, capital investment schemes such as SEAL and reserves, all of which will affect the sums needed in the programme. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, councillors, regarding the update? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm probably a little bit dense. I wonder if we talked through the appendix, please, because I didn't quite understand how it was working. I don't know whether anybody else has got that problem, but what I was looking at, just say take for example, the railings, that we've got 60,000 essential. Why is the revised estimate double that? I've done another 60,000. Or when you sort of work your way across, by the time we've got contingency and everything else, and it's suddenly up to 192. I don't understand finance. I just wonder how this works.
I think that might be a typo because it's meant to be 60,000. I'm looking at my printer sheet and apologies, I can't tell about there's an extra zero being put on there.
Is it possible that the formula is adding up both the essentials?
Yes,
And that was-
isn't it? It's around 60,000?
Yeah. Then when it adds across, they've got 120,000. As you said,
Yeah.
there's nothing else on that line.
No.
That's why I'm not understanding it.
It might be.
And the same,
Yeah.
same with the top of the figures.
Oh, I think what's happening is,
60.
yeah, so what's happening is we've got the estimate, just the first one, and then the actual, and the revise. And unfortunately, I think it's adding up, it's basically doubled because obviously it's taking in the bold estimate and the revised together, so
Right,
it's 6120, so yes, there is unfortunately a little
That's okay.
oversight in that part, but no, it's literally going to be just the.
So that's happening all the way down. So I'm just wondering then, how does this affect all the figures at the bottom?
Yeah, so it won't be affecting the figures at the bottom. You look at the red ones, it'll be the 4, 6, 6. Because the first one was the estimates. Then by the time we've had people come in and re-estimated it, we've actually saved some money. That makes sense. And they come in under budget as well.
Okay,
So the only one that's doubling up is the last one, is the 100.
So-
Yeah. So unfortunately
but that's being carried across to your final figures.
yeah, indeed, yeah, will do. Yes, unfortunately. it's adding up on the subtotal, it's adding them double, unfortunately, on that.
So on the paper, we're being asked for. I think we're being asked for 2.5 million, aren't we?
Think, folks, if we can't,
No.
even though it happened,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think it might be an idea if in 6 weeks' time, at our next meeting, we look at,
Yeah.
yes, please, unless anyone
Yeah.
would like to continue waiting.
Yeah.
I'm happy to wait. There's an area.
No, that's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
But can I ask whether that area therefore is applicable to all of the items? Because the software program being used has done the adding up,
yeah.
therefore every figure in that
It-
last column should be changed,
It's
not just
difficult
the one
to tell
about the
from a-
rating.
It's difficult to tell from a PDF
Yeah,
exactly where the formula error is without going through line by line, item by item. So I think
So we need
it's an option. I'm sorry, there it is, it's an option.
Relishing.
Someone doesn't want to see fault now.
let Shane take it back and bring us a new one that we could.
Yeah. No, councillor Taylor, thank you for highlighting that because it is important. Yes, if we could add that to our agenda for 6 weeks' time.
yeah.
Do we need to officially defer that by vote or is?
Yeah.
We do. Okay, I propose. Thank you very much. We propose in second that.
That's fine.
Approve all those four. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you, Shane.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Would you,
Item 10, which the Texas Town Club will be introducing, is a PID, which hopefully everyone has seen, regarding reinstating a lollipop person at St Andrew's Primary School. We're a property control officer.
Yeah, I will obviously just do a brief introduction and hand over. A bit of Dickinson to go through some of the detail. Obviously, we've included some of the feedback. Dorset Council, in respect of this particular, update on now. So members would have had the opportunity to read that background information. So I would probably leave it there, Chair, I guess I'll.
Well, I'm sure you've all read the PID. I've got to own up, there is a mistake in there where I've said Bridport. It's not Bridport, it's Wall, who have an independent lollipop person. And I'm open to any questions that anybody's got on the PID.
Chair, just ask them very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just on this bit, so what this bit is doing is actually asking, for this committee to agree a recommendation to full council. They ask the budget working group, and agree in principle this new service area. And obviously the, budget, will be subject again to the budget working.
Councillor Thurman.
Thank you. Just to confirm, so is this document just, I don't want to say the phrasing of fast tracking it to finance, but or is it an investigation into what the final funding and everything would be?
We would need to ask Ian to go to Dorset Council and say, what is the final figure?
Yeah.
Because all school patrolling officers have a different amount of money.
Right.
Because it depends how long you're there, because they do it on half hours, 15 minutes to how long you're there. So it can range from £3,000 to £5,000 per year. So, well, I'll go through F&G first, because for me, this is the right area to put it. And I've spoken with Dorset Council, and they do this. So it's not an unusual thing. And it's whether or not, as we've said, we are a social council. And I think socially, my residents, because it's my residents that have come to me and said, can you get it reinstated? And I've said, well, I've asked Dorset Council and they've explained the matrix that they use. No. I've asked the school, no, because budgets are tight. I've asked the diocese, they said no. So I said, there's one area left. We could follow the Swanage wall, and I forget the third one at the moment, there is a third one. We could ask them, how could we do it? So I've come through this committee, because I think anything to do with finance should come through this committee.
Yep.
And so I've come through here asking us, just ask Ian to go out and find out exactly how much, and also whether Dorset Council are willing to do it. Well, that's the other thing, because the trouble is with the PID, as it says, which councillors and SMT support you? Well, to me, it's nothing to do with SMT supporting a particular PID, because they've got to remain independent. So I think that the whole form needs looking at and redoing, because some of it is, you know, you're repeating yourself very much like on a normal thing. But my residents have asked, so I'm here asking my fellow finance and governance members to send Ian off to find out.
And so will you be expecting a report to come back to us for us to then consider?
Yeah,
for-
yeah. But the PID is the process to start.
Yeah, of course.
Now, there might be, you might all vote no, dead and buried in the water, or you might, we'll ask Ian to go off and see what he can do.
And can I suggest that if we're going to investigate this, which I'm quite happy to do, we should be investigating the need for the town as a whole. In other words, if we accept the idea that there is a need at St Andrews, then there may well be a need on the same criteria for some of the other 13 schools that don't have a school crossing patrol at the moment. So when we come to discuss this as a budget issue, we would have to actually look at all of those aspects in order to discuss whether it is something we can then afford to do. You know, there are all sorts of issues that justify school crossing patrols. We've got a problem in my part of the world, not for South Hill School, but for Budmouth School, where it's been deemed too dangerous to have a school crossing patrol. Because, and they can't actually put a school crossing patrol in because of that danger. But they can allow the school children to cross the road unaccompanied. They can't actually, put in a school crossing patrol. So it's quite a big issue. It's one that's well worth looking at, Peter. Thank you for raising it. But I think we've got to look at the picture as a whole, as it is something that Dorset Council will be looking at handing over to towns much more frequently than they are at the moment, I've no doubt. Financially.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Councillor O'Leary and then Councillor Webber.
No, you go first.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. One, I'm sure there's a really easy answer to it, because lollipop men are warranted. Where does the warrant sit?
Never knew what was warranted.
Because you're allowed to direct traffic.
Yeah.
You have to come under a certain legislation that
Yes,
says
and you
that
have to wear your uniform.
you as a person can tell cars to stop,
Yeah.
and the cars have to stop or they're committing an offence rather than just running you over. So where does that sit?
When you finish the training, you're then deemed a fit and proper person. When you've done the training.
Okay. And the other thing, I don't know how I'm going to vote on this at the moment. I'm just thinking, we lost a lollipop man we didn't lose him. He was made redundant in Abbotsbury Road.
Yeah.
And we're putting at the moment engineering solutions into that to make it safer. And I'm just wondering whether this is something that you've gone down the route. Also, outside of Budmouth School, there's an issue there. And I'm just getting a crossing put in there, which should go in fairly quickly, because of the young people who come out and just run straight off the road to the co-op. So, we've seriously got to do something there fairly quickly. Have you looked at other sort of engineering solutions to this?
Yeah.
Or are you just going down the line?
There is a plan to put flat 20 mile an hour with flashing lights.
Right, so
Sorry, go on.
how would that affect the need for the lollipop man?
Well, the residents have all said, but that doesn't stop people speeding down because there's the enforcement. If there's a person there as well, it helps. And this is what the residents have asked, so
Okay,
here I am.
I think it's sort of, to me, it's one or the other, try one out first, or Okay.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is my, this is my unitary ward, and, and this, me and Pete have been to a number of meetings about, come on the council table to talk about crossings, there's already the flashing lights that are used by the lorry. All we're discussing there is a minor upgrade to those, and there's nothing major planned. We're not particularly happy with what's being proposed. Discussions with the school transport about. The issue with St Andrews is it saw a massive drop in pupils due to internal issues a couple of years ago. The numbers are going back up slowly, and we hope that once those numbers go back up, one day in the future, Dorset Council may decide to take on crossing officer again. Dorset Council have said to me, you can have a crossing officer and the flashing 20 if the demand is there via the algorithm used, which is a national algorithm, to go with the policy. So you can have those. The major issue is the numbers. If the numbers go back up, then Dorset will fund one. At the minute, Coombe Valley is an extremely busy road. It's a rat run. The vision's not great down there. Is it? You know, got issues down there. There's a width restriction on there that's regularly ignored, etc., etc. I'm fully in support of this. I agree with Councillor Harris's point on looking at other sites that would need it. Some schools don't need it. For instance, Beacon Valley Liverpool doesn't need one because we have a car park and there's no sort of dangerous road out. So not every school will warrant one or need one. But I think it's a good idea to look at them all. This one was just recently not made redundant, but for reasons we shan't go into, due to the fact the vacancy come up, it wasn't refilled. Peter very kindly offered to do it for free. Due to the fact you mentioned about warranted, you cannot do it for free because you unless you paid the warranted, blah, blah, blah. We went to the Diocese of Salisbury, who are stood by the school and the school themselves. They won't fund it, they don't have the resources. So we are coming here on behalf of, Pete's coming here and I'm supposed to support on behalf of our residents. And all we're doing is looking into it. It's not a final decision. You may vote differently on the final decision, but it'd be an interesting piece of work to look into this just for future reference.
Thank you. That's the one. Thank you for being so patient.
That's right. Thank you. On the is the project a quick win and then the ABCE, I don't think the answer is no, because I think that if we get it wrong or if we can't sustain it, that could cause us reputational damage. I hope it wouldn't, but it could. So I think it's a sort of a yes, maybe. But I do think that we need to look at the overall picture. This is something that really Dorset Council should be providing. There's clearly a need for it. And we've been terribly careful about not picking up, trying not to pick up those things that Dorset Council ought to be providing, because they're very good at offloading these responsibilities when we feel that there is a need for something, and we've seen that in so many fields at the moment. So I'm cautious about opening that floodgate again to them. But I do think we should look at it. We should look and see whether we do have the resource to do it. And if it's, if it's one or two, perhaps we can. But if we discover that we need to provide half a dozen crossing patrols because they all fit the same criteria, we may need to think again. So yes, by all means, let's investigate it and see what the implications are. But bear in mind that if we agree to do something and then we can't sustain it, that's almost worse than us doing it in the first place. So let's look at all the implications. I do agree with that, absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Just a quick thing, as part of the implications you were referencing, all things like liabilities. We looked, how does this affect our liability if we're providing a service and then God forbid something does go wrong? I'm sorry, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Dickinson.
It comes back to Dorset Council, because we'd be paying Dorset Council to provide we would be funding the post. So it falls on Dorset Council to manage it, which they do on these other independent. And they look after it and it's their thing, it wouldn't come back to us.
Right, so, thank you. I had a few questions, if I may, and it's just to better understand it. How long has the vacancy been there approximately?
Well, since they did away with it, there's no vacancy, is there?
Sorry, how long has?
Before I took it up,
doing it? So
when I took it up, there's a 6-month vacancy.
Sorry, I mean, how long is it since you were doing it?
May.
April.
April.
Okay,
April.
that's helpful. And again, we've sort of talked around these a bit, but do we know how many other lollipop persons are employed by Dorset currently?
No, I don't,
Roughly,
no idea.
no.
No idea.
And the reason that Dorset haven't supported the replacement of that position is that it doesn't hit the particular algorithm.
They did 4 where they put a camera up and they set up, and then they use this algorithm that's provided nationally. And that they said there isn't enough children crossing the road.
Okay, so it's a football compared to
Yeah.
a particular
Yeah,
requirement.
it doesn't factor in traffic at all. I think it just factors in purely the number of kids across the road.
Okay, where would it be exactly? Is it on Liverpool Road opposite the school, or is it on? It is.
Coombe Valley Road.
Coombe Valley Road.
Coombe Valley Road,
Thank you. That helps.
because the other lady's still there.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So I would be, correct.
Can I recommend a slight change in the wording on the light of what we've been discussing? So that the Finance and Governance Committee consider the project initiation document and information contained in this report at the same start to it all to determine whether to recommend a new service commitment to Poole Council or the provision of school traffic patrol. That's the official name? All right, anyway, whatever that wording should be. So it's looking at the need to provide this sort of provision. You're happy with that, Ian, if you got that wording?
Yeah, so whether to recommend a new service, school care, provision of school possible for are we asking this committee to consider that?
Yeah.
So I'll
It comes back to this.
Come back to this committee to see what the investigations are.
You,
Yes, yeah, this is what wanted the PID to open up. It is a discussion.
that's good, but if you don't like what it comes up with.
No, well, you have to go on and dust them off.
Discuss it further.
Good. The typing on this.
I just ask you a question on the process of how we'd go about doing this. Obviously, we've had one particular question highlighted to us. How would the officers assess need elsewhere? Would we invite that from schools? Or is this I just want to know what's the mechanism going to be? Are our officers trained to make these judgments? Possibly not. And they may not know the individual needs. So what's the process going to be to collaborate, work with other areas of town? What would be the thoughts on that?
May I just add in that the thing with St Andrews is this: you don't just literally rock up with your stick, etc., in your jacket. He had a set of lights that you switched on and on, etc., etc. That's what the difference is with Pete's site. Would be equipped to take this. If you were to start looking at new sites, you would then have to have Rob Camp, who's the school cross control officer, come out and start assessing them. So if you want to do that, then that's fine. You know, you could do it 2 ways. You could ask ward members to say if they got a primary school in there or a school in their ward they would like looked at. Or you could email the schools individually and then look at getting Rob Camp to come out and assess them. Does it work that way?
Councillor
I advise against emailing schools, but they're so busy, we won't get a response from them, to be honest. Not because they don't want to, but because their workload. But to send out a message to fellow councillors to say that this has come up at this committee, and we will be looking at the need of St Andrews. Do they have any comments? And someone may come back, because I can't think, well, I can think of areas that I would like them where I am, but I also know we wouldn't get them, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't be coming up with that. But there will be other members who think maybe they do have somewhere that is neglected, and we can, you know, members know their patch. Let's ask them to comment. And as for whether we then have the expertise, well, hopefully we'll be able to tease out the information that will help us with that. And at that point, we can go to Rob and ask his advice. I don't know that Coombe Valley Road is unique in switching on lights. Some I know come on automatically, but I think there are others that don't. But those are all things that, as we go down the line, Rob can advise us. But I wouldn't cross these bridges until we come to them.
Absolutely. Councillor Dickinson.
I've got to say I disagree with that. I think we should definitely contact the schools. I'm sorry, my boys will probably go. They are probably in the best position to say that they do need a lollipop person, you know, and quite frankly, I think, you know, we're talking about children's safety here. That seems to have sort of escaped all of us here. You know, I mean, because obviously I've got a personal involvement. I know how some of the parents have felt because I've had sort of, you know, dealings with all these people saying, what's going on? Why have we not got a lollipop now? So if they're saying that to me, there must be other schools out in Weymouth that's saying exactly the same thing. Surely it wouldn't take a lot to contact a school and say, do you have a lollipop person? If you don't,
I think the tricky part there is to whom do you direct it at the schools? If you send it, thank you, Councillor, generically, then it could get lost. Councillor O'Leary was first, then Councillor Bell, then Councillor Taylor, please.
Sorry, I just want to add in some some detail in there. It's not just St Andrews would be affected by this, also Westfield, on the same compound. So could we add St Andrews and Westfield to that, please? And could we also just make it specific to Coombe Valley Road, just to straighten that out? Because obviously you asked the question of that Coombe Valley is directly mentioned within the PIP, but if we could mention those two things just to actually clarify the position, as it were. I don't know if it was. Did you write Coombe Valley in there? Yeah, Westfield. Westfield College?
Westfield College.
Oh, Westfield College, yeah.
Excellent. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you. Just slightly in defence of Councillor Weller, though, I think you are somewhat right there about the schools. I can tell you just from my primary school, I'm the only person who works in the teacher, let alone SLT, that lives in my area. A lot of them go to school in their cars. They don't necessarily know those walking routes. So I would just be mindful that schools are busy, but they might not know the ward as well as the council. So we should just put all of our to make this investigation. And I will say that as a matter of chair, I think we are somewhat getting away from Councillor Dickinson's PID here and getting into a broader conversation about what might eventually come to us. And I would just urge members to stick to the
They're not
PID.
preemptive.
Yeah. You know, processes are there for us to recommend ideas, processes for officers to follow, and that's well within our rights to do that, you know, outside the meeting. I just wanted to bring that focus back to Councillor Dickinson because I'm in support of it.
Councillor Bell.
I was just going to say that if you were to contact the schools, all schools should have a designated safeguarding lead listed on the website. Certainly best practice. So that would be the person you go to. I don't see anything wrong with board members and DSL. And then you
Have a vote.
all of it in there. The DSLs at each school would be the person.
The Taylor.
I think I would just be a bit reluctant to contact schools because we've got to have a standard way that we're looking at this. I think if you just contact a school and you say, do you want to cross it? And they'll say, yeah, I'll have one there, please.
Just to raise expectations, do
I don't want to raise expectations and it's got to be by a standard independent means. And I take the point that you said, councillor O'Leary, that it doesn't take in traffic, but then it doesn't take in traffic anywhere. And as long as it's a standard assessment, then I'm happy with it.
Okay. Could we have a look at the latest?
So it says that the Finance and Governance Committee considered project initiation document and information contained in this report to whether recommending use those committees for the Finance and Governance Committee.
Excellent.
And just to add, Chair, I think, you know, when we do it, we will need to look at if we support some schools, and even if there's some schools we sort of don't require something from you, I don't know. But the UK might come in and actually have a different view to it. But I'm just putting it to the Chair that as part of the rule within this.
It needs to be an objective process that we can stand behind. I understand. Councillor Dickinson, would you like to propose your revised?
Obviously, I'll propose it.
Second, Councillor Leary, thank you very much. All those votes for? Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Item number 11 regards the budget working group, and the Deputy Town Clerk will introduce the report.
Okay, that time of year where we are asking members to form the budget working group, and that work will be starting to be undertaken at the end of October, start formulating the budgets with officers. It involves meeting with officers to go through quite detailed analysis of the current budget we have. It will be quite an interesting but tough process, I think, this year. And traditionally, we've had cross-party membership of committee. I know, again, without preempting Councillor O'Leary, Councillor Nicholson did say that she would like to.
I think I was told it wasn't a budget working group, it didn't have a Nickinson on it.
So by the current councillor.
By the officer, actually.
So we're looking for four members.
Okay, excellent. Councillor Dickinson.
Because what you two guys work, when would the working group meet? Because I don't want people thinking, well, I can't come Monday to Friday because I'm working. And obviously there's experience of people who are on the council. I'd like to come, but he's working Monday to Friday. Sorry, Councillor Bell, sorry.
Not fussy.
So I'm just wondering, what would be the next time? Because any time in the day is not long.
Yes, please.
You know, it's just a point, that's all.
So the previous years, we've had different timings depending on what they. So, we have had times where it's been evenings, we've had few years where membership has allowed us to have it during it. This is rules to try and accommodate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor O'Leary.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Caroline Nickinson in her absence.
No, she's
But it has been, she has indicated she is, I can get her on the phone if you. She's dead.
Yeah. There are any self-nominations. Should probably add myself to that list. Councillor Weller?
And me.
Yes, Councillor.
Chair, I'm happy to be on the group, but I'm aware, I just want to make sure we've got party, so it's only the Green that inclined, but no, that's a large group, we probably would have more than one seat.
Is it 4 plus the chair?
Traditionally, it has been four, that's just a guidance, it's not
Just a straight 4, not the chair and 4.
Made up of, I'm made up of members of the Finance and Governance Committee, so that. Yeah, definitely,
Can I recommend that we nominate or we allow the Greens to nominate a member of their party to be the fourth, and if they don't take that up, we consider how to make the fourth person to the.
I think we've got to add four already, didn't
We could do, but as Ian was saying that historically it's been members of the Finance and Governance Committee. And the Green Party don't currently have anyone on the Finance and
Right,
Governance
just
Committee.
add one thing, Chair. We have had other people who have attended those meetings and inputted into the process. So the working group could be, if this would be minded to do so, the board would invite to the greens to attend in that capacity to offer some advice.
Okay. Sounds like a pragmatic solution to that, unless anyone is violently or otherwise opposed to that.
No,
I love another way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in that case, can I propose that councillors Nickinson, Berman, Weller and myself form that budget working group? Anyone like to second that?
Well, are you going to put it with an invite to the,
And we will extend an invite to the Green Party group to provide an input.
we? Can I second, please?
Yes, you can. Thank you very much. Votes for? Thank you very much. Excellent. And now that brings us on to the information items regarding the carers allowance update, the actions from previous meetings and the forward plan. I propose that we note the information items. That's the second one. Furman, thank you very much. Votes for?
we voted on?
Oh, you raised a
Can I just ask a question? And I think, Ian, you've probably given us the answer to this before, but forgive me because I can't remember what it was. Whilst we wait for the government to make this decision about allowances, because it was quite a problem on the last council. Are we, budget allowing, are we in a position, where we could make those allowances ourselves within an agreement? We're not. That's what I thought, that we weren't allowed to do so. Is there any possibility of a wrinkle that we can find that allows us to, if we wanted to? You probably can't answer that in this forum, so I withdraw the question. But it does seem to me that this has been going on an awfully long time, and it is something that perhaps now we have a new government. We ought to be asking the DAPTC to write to them yet again and say that it seriously impacts on those people who would like to serve their community but are unable to do so because of their caring commitment.
Dorset Association of Parish and Town Councils.
Yes.
Councillor Taylor.
Can I just do a declaration of interest for something involved in?
Yes.
Yes.
If anyone's interested, it costs me £100 each time to sit at this desk.
And we are very grateful.
No, I'm not, no, just for information for councillors, just, what carers costs is.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much it costs to look after my mum and pay somebody hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Yeah.
Okay. If we go through the check.
This is just me sitting at the sleep hall, not for the rest of the care.
I suggest